Have you ever thought about the possibility of being saved from a robbery, a violent, not by the security cameras, alarms, or to any of the system's advanced technology, but by the loyalty and the instinct of a dog? This question may come as a surprise, but it's stories like this happen more than we realize, and a lot of times these animals have a heart that leaves you a jaw drop. This is a children's area, where everything seems to be under control, with the family relaxing in the home and in the routine of following its course, as usual. In this scenario, all it takes to save is there, attentive, silent, like a real sentry gun that you know your role in protecting those she loves. She didn't need the commands that are specific to notice something strange in the air. His sensitivity and his instincts seemed to be keen, almost, as if she could predict the future. Stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out right now might surprise you. The power and the courage of a dog can be, yes, that makes all the difference in the time of trouble. Have you ever gone through this? Have you ever wondered what the loyalty of a pet? The relationship between humans and dogs is filled with stories of love, companionship, and a lot of times, protection and unconditional. But in this narrative, we go beyond what we can see in daily life. Here, the protective instinct of a dog and transforms into an attitude of honor, able to avoid the worst of it. This is a real story that shows that these animals are more than just companions. They can also be the true champions are ready to risk it all for those who put their trust in and love him. What are you going to keep up now? It's a sequence of events that demonstrates the connection between the Ann family and their dog was the key to. That is a danger to be avoided at all costs. You're going to understand how, in a moment of vulnerability, that the heroine of a four-legged took his role of protector against the fear and the risk of a heart that gives. And all this without the need for a camera or a security system that is sophisticated, the basic instinct, loyalty, and the love of a dog, which, at that time, it has become a true hero. Get ready to feel the emotions and think about the power that an animal might have in the life of a family, because sometimes the hero is right under our nose, or better yet, to us, to protect us with all of your courage and dedication. And when you think of those actions, quiet and full of courage, it would be impossible not to feel a connection even more with the feeling of gratitude is upon us. Every action in that game, at that critical moment, we are reminded of how the loyalty and love can be more powerful than any other technology, or in terms of material resources. It is as if in the midst of the chaos, she has shown us that true heroism lies in the simplicity and the dedication to a daily in the presence of those who, without asking for anything in return, but simply chose to be on our side. And with this in mind, I want to invite you to share it with you in the comments. Have you gone through a situation in which an animal surprised you in any way? How was that experience that has touched your heart? Your participation is very important in order for this story to continue to grow and inspire more and more people develop. That connection is so special to you that we have with our four-legged friends. If this story has touched your heart, made a memory that's important, don't miss to enjoy this video. It's a gesture to help build the community of those who believe in the power of unconditional love. And of course, if you want to keep up with more stories like this, subscribe to the channel. It's a way of showing that you value this content and want these emotions that keep on coming to you. After all, every comment, every like, it's an encouragement for us to continue bringing you stories that remind us of how much we are able to learn and grow with our animals. So, here is your invitation to participate, to share, and let us go together to build the network, empathy, and hope, because in the back, this combination makes it even better. And without a doubt, there's still a lot of stories to tell, so many emotions to live together. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, for it is precisely in the understanding of these small to the large stock that we find the true transformation. Many of the times, we think we have to change our relationship with the animal, or even the people around us relies on the grand gestures, or the strength of the will is out of the ordinary. But the truth is concealed. This is where the change comes from the decisions of daily living, attention to detail, which is, apparently, seem to be small, but they have a major impact on the construction of a new reality. It's as if, when you realize the power of each of the attitude of the people, will begin to see that everything around us is a reflection of the choices we make in each moment. This is a journey of transformation. It's not something that happens at one time or another, and sometimes it takes a deep dive within yourself. You need to look at their own limiting beliefs, the ones that you often don't even realize desires that we have, and the question of whether we are actually in line with what we believe is the very best for our four-legged friends. Because, deep down, the whole process starts in the mind, in the way that we perceive the world and the creatures that coexist with us. When you come to know what is the impact of a simple gesture, as a word of encouragement or a look of love, it can change the whole trajectory of the animal, which, at times, seemed to be lost. It all takes on a new meaning. And here comes a question that often stands in the shadow of the truth, which is hidden by the back of our common stock. How many times have we acted on impulse without thinking about the real consequences? How many decisions are made in routine, it almost automatically, without proper thought? This is the time to open up your eyes for a look behind the scenes of our own life. Because when you do that, you start to realize that change doesn't just come from what you do for others, it's what you become when you choose to act in a way that's more aware of it. Every little decision-making of the offer to be a bit more patient, understanding, and respect. It is a very important part in the building of a society that is more empathetic and sensitive. And then, to deepen this understanding, we are also able to see the impact of our actions are beyond the scope of the present time. Every decision, every action, echoes in the story that we're worried about our pets, our families, and our friends. It is a kind of domino effect. When will we begin to change our mindset? This change spreads. It spawns a chain of good deeds, and then, over time, reveals a new perspective on life, true, and more in tune with what really matters to you. This is a journey of self-discovery, and renewal of value is, in fact, it is a chance to find out as much as we're able to positively impact everything around you, simply by choosing to act with more love, more empathy, and more. And so, as we reflect on all of this, there is the feeling that there is still so much to discover, to understand, to live. Each and every story that we hear, each of the rack is revealed. They show us that the path is endless, and with each step taken in the right direction, it's a win-win. Because deep down, that connection is what we are building is going to go well beyond any words or actions that are visible. It is rooted in the very essence of who we are and who we want to be. And it is precisely at this point that the transformation happens in the more powerful, more real, more permanent. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the true essence of this journey of transformation, which is currently on the understanding that each and every decision, no matter how simple it may seem, bears the impact, which is often not able to see it right away. It is as if we were sailing up a river, silent, each row, and each choice is going to shaping the direction of our efforts, and at times, without realizing it. So this constant change, we find that the change does not happen from one time to another, but rather as a construction site and a daily sum of small actions that you will be strengthened over time. That's the beauty of this process, and understand that we are the authors of our own stories, even when you feel you are at the mercy of external forces or circumstances that seem beyond our control. In fact, this realization is one of the biggest pitfalls that we all face on our journey of self-development. Because sometimes you get stuck with the idea that we can only move forward when everything is perfect, when the conditions are ideal, when the stars are aligned. But it is the truth that is hidden, that just show that the greatest impact comes. Just act in spite of the difficulties. It's choosing courage when fear tries in the stall. It is at this point that our minds start to change, because we think that the growth is not a straight line, but it's a path of ups and downs, the lessons learned and the mistakes, the successes that are driving us to move forward. And that's what one of the biggest revelations of the day, the power of conscious choice. When you stop to think about the choices we make, we see that we have a tremendous responsibility on the impact they create in our lives and in those around us. Each and every decision, however small it may seem, it has the potential to bring us into a whole new level, open the doors which before would have seemed impossible to achieve. And at the same time, it reveals a truth that hides many of the times we are ignorant of, that real change starts from the inside out. Is not enough to just change the outside, to try to change your look or make adjustments to the surface, if it does not work in our mind, our emotions, and our deepest beliefs. For this reason, the connection is built. The journey of self-discovery, this is the one that really has made all the difference. When we understand who we are, in fact, in addition to the masks that we wear in order to please or to hide our fears, we are able to make choices that are aligned with our purpose, the most genuine one. And at this point, the transformation is no longer longer something foreign and goes on to be an experience of wholeness, authenticity, and real impact on our history. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the understanding of the shift that is deeply rooted in our way of thinking and opens up a range of possibilities, too many times or even imagined. It is as if each and every layer of discovery to discover a whole new dimension to the potential that lies within us all, just waiting for the courage to be explored. And in the process, you start to realize that the real secret of the transformation is the following built-in formulas, or take shortcuts, but rather embrace the journey with the love, patience, and a dose of determination. Therefore, every step you take, no matter how small, will have a meaning that is greater, because we are making a new chapter, a new version of ourselves, which up until then, it's nearly impossible to achieve. And if you think about all of this, it is clear that the day of the change is, in fact, it is a silent revolution that is happening from within each one of us. A revolution that will challenge our limiting beliefs, that breaks the paradigm that is, at the same time, we connect with the universal truth, that we have been able to create a reality that is beyond what you can imagine. And this is where the magic happens, when you realize that the biggest impact is in how we choose to see it and to act in the face of the challenges of the die that come up. Because deep down, this is the essence of transformation, a decision every day to be better, to do something different, to believe that the best is yet to come. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the real revelation, is precisely the courage to confront what they too often prefer, to ignore our own limits and the weight of our past decisions. It is as if, for the back of each and every choice we make, there is an invisible force that shapes our journey, a kind of the impact of the silent, who, over time, to build or tear down the possibilities. And this force, in most cases, it is powered by our own deeply held beliefs, for the stories that we tell ourselves about who we are and what they deserve. The transformation is, in fact, get there at the time we decide to challenge these narratives and accounts, when we choose to look beyond what's comfortable, to question what has become routine, and we are making room for a whole house. It's as if, as we take these steps, we're unlocking a door that leads us into a universe of possibilities that once seemed unattainable. And all of this, of course, it happens in everyday life, in the small decisions that seem simple, but they carry an extraordinary impact. In a word, the most gracious, the thought in a more positive, a course of action which shows the courage of all this, will accumulate to form a chain of events that might transform you completely in the way. But in order for this change to be really, really deep, it is necessary to understand the behind the scenes of the transformation. Many of the times, we are caught up in a routine of self-sabotage, powered by a mindset that he would have us believe that we are capable of, for the success of something is far away or set aside for the other. And then, in the play of shadows and lights, it's the truth concealed is that it all starts in how we choose to interpret the situation. This is where the magic happens, that made a conscious decision to see beyond the veil of fear and doubt and to seek the realization that we are the creators of our impact on the world. Every choice, every action is a seed sown in the soil of our history. And when we understand this truth, and the journey takes on a new meaning, one more aligned to what you actually want to achieve. Because, deep down, that the quest for transformation is not only to achieve results, but rather evolve in-house, on strengthening our minds that the truth is hidden to be revealed. That is, we are capable of so much more than we think when we choose to act with purpose and courage. And when you understand it, we realized that a change is not a matter of luck or fate, but it is a decision, a daily choice that we make along that path that leads us on to something more fulfilling and genuine. So, when you think about those scenes, it's clear that the journey is more than just a course. It is an opportunity for us to reinvent. Armos is to continuously challenge what we believe to be the truth and to find the internal resources that you might not even knew we had. It is an invitation to take over the control, to turn the obstacles on the stairs, and, above all, to understand that the greatest revolution that is going on inside of us. And when you do that, you start to realize that the whole of our history, you can change it from the moment that you've decided to look beyond what your eyes can see. This, by opening up the space for a new version of ourselves, emerges with the power and authenticity. Now, I want you to take a moment and think about it and bring it into your reality. What are the stories that you have been feeding on you? you? What decisions have you taken that in any way prevents or are driving your growth? He writes in, I'm on this journey too. As you delve deeper into this thinking, it's clear that a lot of times we are caught up in a web of invisible to the limiting belief that, without realizing it, to shape each and every one of our decisions. In these narratives that we tell ourselves is often rooted in early childhood, culture, or even a past experience of failure, will end up becoming the truth on our mind. And this is where the transformation starts to grow, when we are able to identify these patterns. And the question of courage. After all, who can never be caught saying that he is not able or not born to do this, as if it were a decree unchangeable? These words, these phrases are repeated in your head, creating a sort of wall around our own power, preventing you that we explore new roads, or that is in the reinventimos from the truth. I now want to go more in depth on this topic because I see that a lot of these narratives are related to the fear of going out of your comfort zone. It's like a security that is false, a trap, to keep us in a routine that is predictable, even if the routine is not for us to bring customer satisfaction and growth. When the fear of making a mistake or fail, and if it becomes greater than the desire to evolve, to our way of thinking is stuck in a kind of vicious circle. And in this phase, all the choices appear to be a form of self-protection, but the fact that they feed on to a sense of stagnation. It is a kind of self-deception, where we have convinced ourselves that we are safe, even drifting further and further away from our true selves. For this reason, it is critical to begin to explore the behind-the-scenes of this internal narrative, because hidden under the layers of insecurity and doubt, and that is the truth hidden about who we are and what we are capable of. These signs, often unpleasant, it can be a turning point for transformation, and true. When you look at the inside honest with ourselves, we realize that many of our decisions were not made because of lack of power, but because of their fear of taking the risk to be different, to challenge the status quo. It is as if in some way we were stuck on the idea of an identity that no longer serves us, and with that, a prison with invisible prevents us from moving forward in freedom. When we think about the impact of these narratives, it is clear that the biggest challenge is the change of the external, but the internal change. The transformation of the mind, the courage to rewrite our history, and to create new phrases and to believe in the possibilities of it before, seem to be unattainable. And it all starts with a decision. A decision is to look within, to confront their own limitations, and to make room for the fact that he was always there, hidden beneath the layers of insecurities and limitations. And as we go on this journey of self-discovery, it is becoming increasingly clear that the greatest power lies in our ability to make decisions, to choose a new story to be told, the turn of the impact our choices have on our lives. That is why it is so important that each and every one of us to understand that such a narrative is built, is not a final judgment has been given, but it's a chance to rewrite the script. From the moment that we stop to acknowledge what is really stopping us, we can begin to build a mindset that is stronger, more resilient, more in tune with all our dreams come true. And so each and every step taken in this direction, we are brought closer to the version of ourselves that we always wanted to be free from the bondage of invisible that was in the past. And this is freedom. This is a true transformation begins with just the courage to face his own history with new eyes, ready to create a future that is different, more authentic, and full of possibilities. He writes in, I'm on this journey too. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation doesn't just happen on the surface. It is rooted in our ability to review, challenge, and rewrite the narrative of what we carry. Many times, you are stuck in the stories we tell about ourselves and the stories that limit us, that enhance our doubts and insecurities. And this is where it goes to one of the greatest revelations. The change begins when we challenge these older versions, when you are learning to look to the past with a critical eye, but also the most compassionate. After all, to understand our history, to acknowledge our mistakes and good decisions, it is critical for us to build a new mindset, one that is able to open a path to real growth. In this process, the emotional impact is inevitable, so why mess with our deepest beliefs? Many times you'll see a load of limiting beliefs that seem so natural that we don't even notice your presence. They are behind the decisions we make, no reflection in times of uncertainty that they seem to be untenable for the patterns that repeat themselves without notice. To unravel these beliefs in the occult is about about having the courage, yes, but also a willingness to be open to the truth that is hidden, that they often prefer to ignore. Because you are, in fact, to accept our vulnerabilities is the first step to set us free from them. It's like opening a door that leads to an inner space of the self, where one can truly understand the why of what limits us. When we begin to see our own stories in a new light, it changes everything. Suddenly, what appeared to be a conviction, it becomes a learning opportunity. Every time, every stumbling block, it becomes part of a journey of transformation, a journey that leads us to a more conscious and powerful, we are the same. And that change is not something that happens all of a sudden. Rather, it is a continuous process in a building of the day, and it requires the full attention and decision-making constant progress, even in the face of difficulties. After all, the thing that really makes the difference is how much you are willing to challenge our own limits, to question what you've been taught, and to create new opportunities. The beauty of this trek is just that. It shows us that change is not something that is foreign. It is not an achievement. It depends on the circumstances or external factors. It is, above all, a decision by the internal transformation of the mentality that affects all areas of our lives. When we begin to act with more awareness, our choices become more and more aligned with who we truly are and who we want to become. This alignment generates a profound impact that reverberates in our self-esteem, our relationships with others, and our ability to achieve the goals that before you looked away. It's like when you break the shackles and invisible to the past to have some space for a new narrative, a story that is written with intentionality, courage, and hope. With each step taken in this sense, it is an opportunity to reconnect with your essence, to understand what really matters to you, and to discard those beliefs which have often been imposed upon them by the standards of social, family, or even a negative experience. And that calls for an attitude of an observer, someone who is able to distance yourself from the emotions and the judgments, automatic, and then being able to see their own stories in a new light. This is the practice of auto-questionamento, the pursuit of clarity, that is, the difference between those who only lives for who they really start to transform your reality from the inside to the outside. And then, in the midst of this process, there is a quiet beauty, the one to find out that you are the architect of your destiny, and that every decision, however small it may seem, it has the potential to shape their own journey. When this awareness becomes stronger, it all takes on a new meaning. The barriers are no longer the obstacles and go to the stairs with the growth opportunities in disguise. Each of conscious choice, we have strengthened our ability to create a new story, one that is truly aligned with our values and dreams of the most profound. This is the essence of transformation, to realize that it all begins within each of us, the courage to look at what's been hidden, to accept that it was painful for you, and follow it through with an open mind. The easier it is, the more authentic, the more our own. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation doesn't just happen on the surface. It is rooted in our ability to challenge one's own beliefs. The question of what, until then, it seemed to go without saying." Many times, you'll see the story that's been built up over the course of a year, a narrative that has been imposed on us by experiences in the environment, the people around us, and, even subconsciously, it shapes all of our decisions, our actions, and our view of ourselves. When you start to realize that this story may not be the truth, and that it is in fact a distorted version of who we really are, we opened up the space for an internal revolution that could change everything. A change of mind, in this context, it is more than just a catchphrase. It's a real journey of self-discovery, where each of the discovery about our limits, our insecurities, and our deepest desires for us to understand the bigger picture of which we are the authors of our own destiny. It is as if, for a behind-the-face masks that we use, there was a spirit that cries out for freedom, for authenticity, for a life that is aligned with what really matters to you. And it often is accompanied by a truth is hidden. It is hidden under layers of fear, doubt, and uncertainty. When you dive into this process, we can begin to understand that our everyday decisions are a reflection of the mindset that has been shaped over time. For each choice, as small as it may seem, it is an opportunity for you to tell our new story. It's a conscious decision to no longer allow fear or doubt to control us, but rather to act with purpose, to create a clear intent and stick to them. And in this way, we see that the resistance that we feel is often just a sign that we're getting out of your comfort zone, breaking away from from old patterns that no longer serve us. Transformation, therefore, is not an isolated event, but a continuous process of self-discovery and reconstruction. Every little step we take in the direction of the spirit, stronger and more in tune with our values, that is, a win that strengthens our ability to create a new chapter in its history. And at the same time, this journey shows us the behind the scenes of what it really limits us, our own limiting beliefs, the ones that have been supplied by outside opinions because of past experiences or by a culture that often valued for the confusion over the authenticity. When we understand the power that is within us, we begin to realize that the change is not dependent on external factors, but internal decision to turn to what is deeper than that. It is an act of courage, is a revolution of the mind which enables us to rewrite our narrative, and with more truth, more light, and more of a purpose. And in the process, it is essential that you keep a note of the impact that our decisions have, not only on our lives, but also in the way that we affect the world around us. After all, it is the transformation of the individual, if they are well understood, and it is a powerful tool for social impact, which is able to create a string is to change that reverberates beyond ourselves. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the understanding that everything starts in our mind. It leads us to an important reflection. How do you actually maintain this mindset in the face of adversity? How to keep the authenticity in the midst of the pressures of day-to-day expectations and external to our own questions? These questions take us to the heart of the journey, where the true revelation of the case. And as you explore such scenes, we have found that the key is persistence, the ability to stay connected with the things that make us vibrate, and above all, the courage to accept the fact that the path is not always straightforward. Many of the times calls us to face our fears head-on. We disconnect Timos of the old standards, and that we allow ourselves to make mistakes, learn, and move forward with more wisdom. Each made a conscious decision that we make along that path, that is a seed that is planted in the fertile soil of our soul, powered by the new realization that we are the only ones responsible for creating the reality we desire. And it is this responsibility that it gives us the power, which leads us to the next, even when the scenery outside it looks challenging. Because deep down, that's the real transformation, is in the way we see the world and ourselves. And to the extent that a change in perspective is solidified, and it becomes a natural bridge to the next chapter of our story, where the revelations of the deepest waiting to be found, and that the journey of self-transformation becomes even more strength and the direction. He writes in, I'm on this journey too. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the true essence of the change, is not just on the surface of the stock or the power of will in a given moment, but at the root of our deepest beliefs, and especially in the way that we think of the experiences that we have experienced. It is as if behind every decision we make, there is an internal narrative, a story we tell ourselves, and it often remains invisible to the conscious. In this narrative, one that is full of fears, limitations, or even a fake like that, it ends up shaping our behaviors in a way that you don't even realize it, creating a cycle in an almost automatic that keeps us from moving forward. When we begin to explore these behind the scenes, to internal realize that many of our aches and pains and blockages are caused by misinterpretations or unrealistic expectations, which we from time to time. And then, when we find out about these truths that are hidden, it all seems to turn to, suddenly, what appeared to be an insurmountable barrier if it shows only a mental construct, an illusion, and that we can debunk you with a new perspective. It is at this point that the day-to-day makes for really, really powerful, because we understand that we are not victims of our circumstances, but the protagonists are able to rewrite their own story. On the basis of this understanding, we can begin to see a picture of all the decisions in a different light. Each and every choice, it ceases to be a simple, standalone act, and it is a good opportunity to reaffirm our new reality and mental well-being. And this is where it comes to the importance of the mind, which acts as a lens through which we interpret everything around us. In a growth mindset, for example, to transform obstacles into opportunities for learning, and we invite you to look into the challenges of curiosity rather than fear. This is a change of mindset, is the one that actually feeds the transformation, because it influences all our actions, our relationships, and most most importantly, our relationship with ourselves. Behind the scenes of this change, there is the fact that many of the times we prefer to ignore the power to change our lives, especially in our willingness to face and accept our own vulnerability. It is in this space of vulnerability which is the greatest strength, because it allows us to be free of the mask and the expectations of the outside, opening up the space for a genuine authenticity. And it's this authenticity that, in turn, is the one that gives meaning to our journey, for it connects us to what we really are, without filters or masks. In the revelation, in greater depth, however, is that this is a journey of self-transformation, is not a linear path, not a magic bullet. It is an ongoing experience of self-discovery, where each step reveals new truths, new perspectives, and to the new borders to be crossed. And in the course of this journey, we begin to understand that true transformation happens from the inside to the outside, and on the ways in which we relate to the world, to the people, and especially to ourselves. This understanding enables us to face the next chapter in an even more boldly and clearly, because we all know that the most powerful is the one that happens in one's own soul. And so, while we show you these behind the scenes to internal and diving into the sea of the hidden, it all starts to make sense, in a way the most comprehensive and in-depth. Each and every insight, every decision, every step is taken with the awareness is a very important part of this great journey of transformation. And in that moment, you realize that the impact of this change will go far beyond what we imagined, reaching out not only to our external actions, but also the very essence of who we are, in fact. This is the true power of the mind is transformed, and that will guide us on a path of constant evolution, where every challenge is an opportunity for growth. And as we continue on this trajectory, it is a reflection of that. A lot of times, the biggest strength is the courage to look within, to accept what you find, and to move forward with determination and hope. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the true essence of this journey of transformation, is precisely in its capacity to confront the true occult." A lot of people live in a kind of a comfort zone, where they tend to ignore their own limitations, fears that still insist on hiding behind excuses, or even for a self-criticism, deconstructed. This resistance, it is powered by an internal narrative that says that everything that has been discovered, it is not enough, that there is no possible way out of this. But the reality is different. The transformation is happening exactly at the time that we have decided to take on these aspects. We, the ones who seem to be the most difficult to accept, because they are the key to real change and long-lasting. From this understanding, the journey becomes a sort of a shift in paradigms, a process that requires courage, yes, but it is also an in-depth understanding of the impact of our decision-making extends far beyond the present moment. Every choice, every reflection, every step we take in the direction of self-knowledge and genuine is shaping our story for way more self-aware, more in tune with who we really are and we want it to be. And in this context, the mind begins to act as a real catalyst for opportunities and helping to dissolve old, limiting beliefs that have often been built up by past experience, external influences, or even a skewed view of what it is to success or happiness. It is interesting to note that when you immerse yourself in the behind the scenes of your very own inside, we've found that a lot of these restrictions are just illusions created by your fear. The fear, however, is a very powerful tool, able to hang or drive depending on how we choose to deal with it. When we experience this feeling in front of you with honesty and bravery, we opened up the space for a whole house. This is a revolution that is able to change the way we see the world, in our relationships, in our own abilities. We can become more resilient, more self-confident in all of our experiences, that are less susceptible to outside opinion, or the opinion that you have created about yourself. Think of the transformation as well as go on a journey of self-discovery. It is, in fact, acknowledged that it will never end. Each step reveals a new layer, a new window of opportunity for growth. And the more we go in the process, the more we realize that the impact is also reflected in the way that we affect the universe around us. Our attitudes, our words, and our attitude in the face of those obstacles are no longer a mere reflection of the external environment and are all examples of a mindset which appreciates the ongoing evolution. Thus, what seemed to be a battle against one's own limits, it becomes a dance of discovery, where every step on the path towards self-knowledge, which becomes a celebration of the strength of the human spirit. spirit. But this transformation is not something that happens in an hour or so to the other one. It's a construction site daily with a series of small decisions that have accumulated over time to create an impact as an invisible but a deep one. It is for this reason that the real difference is in the repetition, in the course of looking at the inside, even when everything around you try to distract us from, or discredit, of the potential that we have. And it is this persistence is fueled by hope and by a genuine desire to be a better version of yourself, even in the face of all the difficulties that stand in the way. After all, it is the journey of transformation that is above all. A testament to the courage to be true to yourself is the greatest gift we can give to our own growth. And if you think about all of this, there is a feeling that the real secret lies in the decision to proceed, to continue moving forward, even when the fear urges us to challenge it, or when on the questions you try to install. Because deep down, every step taken in this direction, it is a statement of what we are capable of rewriting our history, and in turn, our limitations into opportunities for development. And that truth is hidden and often overlooked, is that the greatest power we have is within each of us the courage to explore what is deepest in our heart. And so, the journey becomes a constant quest for authenticity and freedom, emotional and above all, for a life that reflects who we really are, and in addition to all of the masks, which often carry. He comments that it makes no sense to me. And then, at the end of the day, all of this is that we talked about here. It's a reminder that change begins from within, and to accept who we are of the truth and value in every step of this journey. If you've read this far, I want to say thank you for being with me until the very end. That's when you're open to reflect, grow, and connect with their own power. If this content made sense to you, leave a like, because it is this connection that we created in the course of the video. It is something that can really make a difference. Every comment, every view reinforces this change, is that it is so valuable to you. So if you feel that this message is for you to share here, I'm with you till the end. It's always nice to know that we are together in this walk, right? Oh, and if you like what you see here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. After all, it is what we share. It's just to help you see new possibilities and to strengthen their journey of self-discovery. Here, the focus is to deliver content that makes no sense, which is transformed without exaggeration, a light in the way that you can bring to life. And here is a hint. There's a video right here on the side which complements this subject. You can click and keeps me there as well. Thus, we maintain that connection and it follows the learning together. Because in the end, the most important thing is to move forward with a calm curiosity and with a smile on his face. I hope to see you in the next video. See you soon.